World War II with the intent to figure out how we'd kind of make it through without all that World War II labor and tax revenue in the state. And since then, we've been studying. We've diversified what we've studied, and we now look at things such as education, and we continue to look at taxation. We study things like transportation and post-secondary education in the workforce as well. We do study things like energy and the environment and a whole host of different things. Well, what we're doing today is talking a little bit about a project that we are releasing today. That's actually part of a project, but it's called Iron Impact. It's how iron forged Utah's Iron County. This is a little bit different than what we often release, and one of the reasons why we're releasing this is because we think it's interesting, but it's also timely, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But for this report that we're releasing, in conjunction with a brief, a post related to tariffs, this report looks at, like I said, Iron County and iron mining in the county. And the highlights really are that we've seen the iron extraction industry in Iron County wax and wane over the years. Brigham Young actually organized a colony back in 1850, but it was kind of hit and miss for quite a while. And then in the 20s, extraction began in earnest and slowed down a little bit again, and really during the war effort in World War II, it really ramped up, and we saw the number of Iron County mine workers go from 21 to 300 in just over a year, and that kept up to a certain extent until the 70s, and then we saw booms and busts and whatnot. But really, at the beginning, starting back even as far as of course, as 1850, iron played a very crucial role in the economy of Iron County. It still does. It still plays a role. It's not quite as big, but back in 2020, Utah Iron kind of started getting things going down there. The organization called Utah Iron, and we've seen some iron mining happening at pretty significant levels since 2021. So that's one of the items we talked about in this report. Another is just to put this in context. There's the Iron Range in Michigan and Minnesota is really where a vast majority of the iron in the United States comes from. And Utah is the only other state that's produced more than just a very small amount over that period. And even though it's been, less than 1% of the iron in the history of the state, it's been a pretty significant player over time. And then finally, one of the things we mentioned in this report is that iron extraction in Utah is susceptible to global economic conditions. So iron prices and trade conditions make or break the economy. And you can see that with the waxing and waning over time. There's been times where iron has decreased in value by half on the global market. And we've seen that Iron County's mining really decreased to almost nothing. So this ties into tariffs. So in just this year, a couple months ago, Utah Iron announced that it would be suspending its mining operations. And the company's press release stated that significant changes in global markets have created an unusual and strenuous amounts of uncertainty for buyers and sellers. What that means, pretty bluntly, is it's tariffs. It's tariffs and the uncertainty around what the heck is going on with them, and how does this affect Utah Iron? And what is Utah Iron? It affected Utah Iron by kind of putting that pause on iron operations. But Utah Iron is one of the, even today, with this diversified economy, it's still one of the larger employers in Iron County. We see that there were up to about 175 full-time jobs, and in addition to many indirect and induced jobs, and these yield tens of millions in annual earnings for households around the county. So and beyond the county into different communities in the state as well. And one of the things that Rob on the call can help me on this number if you guys have any specific questions. Not all of those full-time jobs, not all of those are completely gone. It turns out that some of those folks were able to go into other parts of operations of some kind of related organizations, and so that it's not all terrible news. But it's tricky. It's tricky for the organization, at least at this time. And we brought Jonathan Friedman on from the World Trade Center to discuss a little bit more about tariffs, and then also be standing by in case you have any questions specifically about tariffs, because he's one of the experts on this topic.
Thank you so much, Sean. It's great to be with you. I appreciate this, the spotlight on Iron County and the jobs that have recently been lost, and really the situation in shifting policy, trade policy out of Washington, D.C., and how where Utah um, plays a role in the global economy as the crossroads of the West, and we really believe the crossroads of the world. I'll just add to what you were just saying, and just extrapolate a little bit, that there's a real ripple effect. Yes, jobs were some of those, I believe 175 jobs with the mine closure were reallocated to projects around in and around St. George, in a different industry in construction. But it's worth noting that Utah Iron is Union Pacific's largest customer. So there you have jobs that are lost in enormous amount of iron ore not flowing by rail. You also, they're also a major player at the Port of Long Beach. So again, not necessarily, as we get out of the state, not necessarily relevant to Utah, but it just the ripple effect, and it goes beyond that around the world. What I'd like to mention is that there are some key legal questions that are unresolved. Right now, there's a pause on tariffs, on the use of emergency authority behind the tariffs until July 9th. That's when that pause is will end. And so we'll see what happens at that point. But we've been working very closely with Utah Iron over the last number of months. We got engaged in early April and looking to find new buyers. So the situation is that they had been selling, oh gosh, I think up to 24 containers of iron ore annually to customers in China. And because of the shift in our trade policy, retaliatory tariffs went into effect, right? And all of a sudden, Utah Iron had 75,000 tons of iron in a couple of vessels that were on the water going to China, that all of a sudden they found out that they had a $2 million tariff related fee in order to land and sell to their customers. So as a result, the customer canceled, and you had a vessel that was passing by Russia at the moment, headed to China with really nowhere to go. That fortunately was resolved, and kind of in those days going back and forth, they were able to ultimately move that product, thank goodness. But it doesn't help us. Moving forward right now, they don't have a buyer, and that's what we are doing. Is we're engaging with Utah Iron to find buyers in Korea, in Japan, in Canada. These are all locations where recently World Trade Center Utah took Governor Cox and a whole delegation of business leaders on trade missions. And we help, to give you more context, World Trade Center Utah has the mission and the mandate of helping Utah companies expand around the world. We are the tip of the spear on global economic development for Utah companies. And we do that through our global network, through our international programs, and our business advisory services. And so, as part of our international programs, we take the governor and other state leadership and business leaders, entrepreneurs, up and down the state to foreign countries to connect with buyers. And so we are actually quite a ways down the road on helping Utah Iron connect with buyers outside of China. So, and we're advising companies to, of course, diversify out of China, no matter what happens with these legal cases. prudent to diversify supply chains, right? So the currently the tariffs on iron have just been increased from 25% to 50%. That's on imported product. So U.S. companies will pay that 50% tariff, which of course is a tax. And the only exception is that there's been trade negotiations that have been finalized with the UK, and that is at 25%. I want to let people know that with the change in trade policy that happens seemingly every minute out of Washington, D.C., we are watching that so closely and have created a detailed tariff dashboard on our website, WTCutah.com. So companies don't have to sift through every headline to see how am I affected? Everyone is affected differently. It could be it's by product, it's by country that you're working with. If we're talking about retaliatory tariffs, etc. So they can use our tariff dashboard as a resource. They can call us because our team of seasoned professionals are here to help. We help companies across the state. So, and what we've heard from companies outside of Utah is that state agencies in different states are pointing their companies to our tariff dashboard. There really isn't anything else that we've seen out there that matches what we're doing. So the other thing we're doing every Friday, we host a weekly tariff update discussion. So companies, members of the media are welcome to join us on Fridays. We're posting a link, I believe, in the chat right now to join us on those updates. Uh, let's see. I guess I'll turn it back to you. If there's any questions, I'm certainly happy to address them.
Yeah, please, if you have any questions at all related to tariffs or anything else that you've heard today, go for it. And this is great, Jonathan. I appreciate you bringing up your tariff dashboard. We put together, and it's a heavy lift to follow all that stuff. We put together a figure in our release from today that includes some tariffs, particularly on steel and generally products across the U.S. generally. And that was a heavy lift. We didn't know about your dashboard at Work Trade Center, so we'll be one of your first visitors, at least from this call today. Appreciate that.
Wonderful. I mean, we really specialize until there's questions coming in. I'll just extrapolate a little bit more. We really specialize in helping companies that have never worked internationally find new markets, identify new markets for their specific product, the lowest hanging fruit, and we help them. We hold their hand through the process of opening up those markets, to expand their export opportunities. 95% of the world's consumers are outside of the United States. That presents an enormous opportunity for Utah companies to grow. 85% of overall consumption is outside of the states. So it's our job to help companies identify those markets and expand their operations there. If they're already working, if they're seasoned in international trade, that's great. Like, for example, Utah Iron for decades has been exporting. But they need help finding customers outside of China. We'll do the same thing. We'll dive in, do the research, and help them identify new markets and specific customers.
Okay, Jonathan, we've got a question, clarification from Leah Larson. I'll let you take that. I think I know the answer to that, but I'll let you take it from here. About you mentioned that Utah Iron is Union Pacific's largest customer. Do you mean in Utah or nationally?
Nationally, that it is an enormous part. I mean, look, Utah Iron is the largest iron mine west of the Mississippi, right? And so yes, they are. My understanding, what I've heard, is that they're UP's largest customer. Period. I think that they had now. This is kind of mining my memory, but I believe they own their own rail cars. And they own, of course, their own tracks that tie into UP's line. And I want to say that they have like 530, it was like 532, 536 rail cars that they were shipping weekly full of iron ore to Long Beach. I mean, I toured the port of Long Beach about 9 months ago, and I could see this entire area of the Port of Long Beach that's dedicated to Utah Iron's material. I mean, this is a significant. That's why I say that I wanted to note that it's significant. The ripple effect is not as focused as we are on the 175 jobs that were lost, which is my entire focus. I know that it goes beyond that.
All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? Jonathan, I really appreciate you joining the call today. You really helped us understand the issue and the impact of this economic uncertainty beyond just this one company in Iron County. And thank you so much, Tiffany, for including those links to the weekly tariff briefing. You said that's on Fridays in the morning, and then we've got this tariff dashboard that you update regularly. I'm excited to take a look at that. And if anybody else has any questions, either for myself or Jonathan, reach out to me. My contact information is on that media release, and I will forward any questions to Jonathan or whomever else you'd like to chat with about that. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate you all.
Sean, let me just add one more
Yeah.
thing, if that's all right. That I just want to add a kind of a bright spot to this whole issue of shifting trade policy. Utah is the Beehive State. We are industrious, we are innovative, and I am proud to say that we are very active on subnational diplomacy and economic development. We reach out to the world. We do not control what happens out of Washington. And as World Trade Center Utah, we are politically neutral. It doesn't matter to us, what affiliation, what political party entrepreneurs, affiliate with. But what we will do as a resource, and what I see Utah companies doing as a whole, is finding opportunities around the world, no matter the geopolitics, right? We will go and we will go face to face, meet people internationally, and we will find opportunities despite barriers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan. All right. Y'all
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful Thursday.
Thanks very much, Sean.